I gotta say, Lindsay being up here, the two questions I get asked more than anything are, do you play basketball? And living on a resort, are you a good skier? She's the reason I say no. I humbly dabble in skiing at the best. For this speech, I discussed people. We bring in content all the time for our weekends. We usually host 200 people at a time. And I asked them, should I do it freestanding? And the three speakers I spoke to said, no, we get paid for that. Just write it down, read your speech, and you'll be good. And it was with that inspiration that I have to say at 10:12 this morning Mountain Time, the perfect, authentic speech was given, and this will be some version of that. And if I cough along, yeah. Thank you to powder.com, booking.com for the powdered donut leading into this. So here we go. A little more about Summit. Yeah, 3 years ago, as Bruce mentioned, we began crowdfunding to purchase a large ski area in the northern Wasatch. It's called Powder Mountain, but to give you a scale, a little bit better scale, it's 2% of 1% of the great state of Utah. We've been setting out to build an innovative place where people can connect, and we're attracting people and families that aren't just investors in this, but really believe in what we're doing, believe in the bigger sense of a broader community. If you drive about an hour north from Salt Lake City, you come to a small town that has 800 people called Eden. There's one four-way stop when you pass the grocery store, the coffee shop, and the gas station that make up 3 of the corners. You head up the mountain where we're building a permanent mountain town for the dreamers and doers of our time. And we have a little video, just a minute long to show that.
Since we've arrived, you've paved roads, laid infrastructure, built lodges, and dug wells. We've opened restaurants, installed ski lifts, constructed sculptures, and have been working hard to bring our village into reality. We gather a global community of thought leaders and innovators, and we are building the physical place we want to live and spend time in. We believe we all have the opportunity to be the change that we want to see in the world, and that anything is possible. So here's to the future.
So beyond the scenery, our differentiating value proposition is that you're going to meet nice people when you come to the mountain. They happen to be successful, they're very inspiring, and they happen to be doing cool stuff within their industry, regardless of discipline. We offer this campus to the right companies, groups, and organizations that really fit the ethos of what we're doing. And so what I want to talk to you now about is authenticity to fit this speech, and why we find that people are believing in us enough to invest and chase this wild dream of building a mountain town of entrepreneurs in the middle of Utah. Authenticity is really a visceral response. It creates that feeling in your gut that tells you to trust someone. And it all started 200,000 years ago, beginning of mankind, when people would bond together into tribes and instinctively work with people that had the same values. Today it's how we connect. We align ourselves with others who share our same values. And so I want to tell you first about the purest form of authenticity. Think back to when you were a small child, when you had a playmate, 5, 6 years old, and you'd spend the entire day running around the neighborhood together, and then as though there wasn't enough time in the day, we'd do these sleepovers, and that was so exciting to spend time with your one playmate the entire day and be away from your parents. You'd make up games, you'd dance, you'd sing, you weren't tethered to anything. The only rule was you had to do it together. You had to spend time with that one person. And you would get in trouble together. You would argue the rules of pinecone ball, whatever you were doing. And this was all possible because nothing was holding you back. This was your purest, most authentic self. And you shared that bond because you had nothing to prove, you had no agenda, and you were allowed, the other person allowed you to be scared. You could say you were upset. You could tell them exactly how you felt at any time. And fast forward a few years, you go to the other side of the spectrum. Not everything's at face value. You're starting to make decisions rather than have reactions. So you're deciding what's cool, where to spend time, who you want to hang out with, how to act and dress. And it really is an ongoing struggle from then on to find our identity. We're constantly answering the question, what do I stand for? And some people who are beyond their years, luckily, find that earlier in life, and some of us are still searching for it. But there's a phenomenon that takes place as you become very clear on your mission and on your values. People start to believe in you. Whether you're a person or a company, when those are clearly defined, other people will join your camp, they will follow you, they will tell others about it, and they'll start to believe in what you're believing in. It's that same principle. People with shared values will believe in what you're doing. So how many people in this room, like me, have a very one-sided relationship with Jeff Bezos? Me and 250 other million people that don't know him personally, but support his mission and what he stands for. Amazon didn't start as the only e-commerce site. It was an online bookstore. I mean, to give you an idea of the vertical, we don't buy books at bookstores anymore. And nor does the name Amazon scream e-commerce. They had nothing to work off of. They were started in 95. They didn't become profitable until 2003. And the systems that are in place now that you can copy for any e-commerce site didn't exist. They had a problem in their second month of being open where people were able to buy a negative number of books and their account would be credited for it. Luckily, they worked through that. But Jeff values people. The stories of these values are authentic to his mission, and that's why we believe in him. That's why we don't have to know him. That's why there doesn't need to be a smiley face handwritten in the package when we get our Amazon packages. We believe in him because of stories like the empty chair. When in every executive meeting as they were getting going, there would be an empty chair that represented the customer. It was the first website that also embraced negative comments. That's a pretty powerful thing when the intent is to have all positive press, and yet when a negative comment was left about Amazon, they would leave it there on display, and that phenomenon took place where the community would defend them. They weren't paying this community to do this, but the community of people who believed in what they believed would look after them and would start posting underneath it all the positive benefits to it and how they were working through things. People believe in those who authentically share their values. So I want to tell you a personal story of mine. 4 years ago, before I was at the summit, I was asked to consult with a company, a well-known company that throws events nationwide. I crossed paths with the CEO. I believe it was an event for the ESPYs. And a few days later over coffee, he explained everything seemed to be on track, but they were just having trouble. He couldn't really put an idea to it. I asked him, what does trouble mean? He didn't have it outlined very well. He said the sales team was in place, the marketing and hiring metrics were all fine, and they had talented, hardworking people, as he described it, but they were missing something. So I told him I would spend a week at the business and see what I could find. And I was throwing events at the time, so he had told them I was an expert in the space and that I could help out quite a bit. So from Monday to Thursday, I met with every team. Met with the marketing team, met with the production team, met with the sales team, met with every team that was putting these events together, even logistics. Went out in the field and met with them. And I was coming to the same response, that everything seemed okay. On paper, the marketing team's taking their metrics, the sales team is taking their numbers, they're going out, they're doing the right things, they're following up, the special projects for partnerships are getting done, but there was nothing extraordinary about it. And it was that Friday, the reason we picked that week is because there's an all-hands meeting once a month. So that Thursday, I wanted to meet with the head of partnerships and the head of marketing about an idea, not a brilliant idea, but an idea, the next day after the meeting. I sent the email and got an immediate response back that really changed the way I looked at the company. The head of marketing said that after the all-hands meeting, everyone would leave. No problem with that. I mean, that's a good thing for company morale. Every Friday that has the all-hands meeting once a month, you get a half day off. No big deal. But it was the way she stated it that really rattled me. She said, unfortunately, we won't be in the office then, and then explained that everyone goes home after that. Again, no problem with the half day, no problem with the hard work. It was the way she wrote unfortunately. To me, that's the way a customer service rep handles a customer that they're going to talk to one time for 5 minutes. And I knew in that moment what the problem was, not work ethic. It was a lack of connection to what they were doing and what they were creating. So I called my friend, the CEO, and told him that we were going to change the agenda for the meeting. He was nervous about it, but he agreed to it. And the next day, rather than the sales reports and operational feedback and next month's goals, I stood up as everyone came into the room, and I said, I know you've been told I'm an expert in this space, but I may have wasted all of your time this week, and I want to apologize for that. I'm not smarter than any of you. I don't have these creative solutions that I think you're all looking to me for, and probably hoping that I'll send you next week. I was very candid. I said, I've been learning along the way and taking opportunities as they present themselves, and I wish that there was more I could do to help. And then I stood there and thought, great, well, this is uncomfortable. I'll let myself out. And as I'm standing there uncomfortably, my buddy raises his hand and says, can I go next? And I said, yeah, of course. I thought he might just stand up, shake my hand, and wish me off. And he said, I micromanage because I'm afraid I won't add value. He said, I'm afraid that I will feel out of touch with the rest of the company if I'm not involved in every way. And then someone else raised their hand. We sat there for a moment, and then the girl who actually had sent me the woman who had sent me the email stating that unfortunately they were going to be out of the office that day after this meeting said that she was admitted to setting metrics that she knew she could hit, regardless of demographic, to make sure that she wouldn't lose her job. She wanted to collaborate with partnerships more, but was afraid if something didn't hit, if something didn't meet the metrics that they always stated in each monthly meeting, that she would be blamed for it and could lose her job. One by one, 25 people, we went around the room, and people opened up completely about where they were, how they felt about the company. They shared fears, they shared shortfalls, they shared imperfections. It was a really powerful hour-long meeting. On the way out, I got a hug from each person. And then later that day, my buddy sent me a photo of all of them in a restaurant. For the first time, they hadn't all gone home. They all went to a restaurant, spent the rest of the day, and had dinner together. So being authentic took them from workers at a company who were working possibly for a paycheck, I'm sure some of them saw the vision, to believing in it and believing in one another. Their partnerships since then, I'm told, I called my friend about this, but he said his partnerships haven't been less than double since that month. So what's the secret of, back to us, what's the secret of bringing people to a previously unheard of ski resort in northern Utah? We focused on building very inspiring spaces. You saw some of them in the video earlier. And we surround people with genuine, curious, and passionate individuals. And when you come to our mountain, really, you're more likely to get a hug than a hug from someone you don't know, asked how your day was by an intent listener, than asked what you do. There's a lot of successful people there, but that's not the idea. The idea is to connect with people while you're at that space. So next time you find yourself in a similar setting, if you're around people that you want to connect with, don't hold yourself back. Open up to those around you. Share with them. Be authentic. I think you'll be amazed by the number of believers you start to find when you're authentic with people. That's all I've got.